Hey everyone, it's Veroosh and welcome to my channel. I'm excited to be back with you guys today to talk about some of the astrology that is over us, as well as mostly doing tarot. It's about 2:18 p.m. when I'm starting to film this. So it's the shortest day of the year. Happy New Year, everyone who celebrates this as the new year. But that means it's going to get dark really fast. So I'm going to be very quick about this. And then if we run out of time, this might go to members because I can't have like a black video on here, like something that's completely dark at the end. But we'll see how it goes, okay? Another announcement that I have straight off the bat is I was going to post something for you guys for the new moon in Sagittarius, but I actually ended up writing a Substack article. So if you're interested, you can check out that article in the description down below. My last announcement, sorry, is that I'm also on Reddit and I want more friends on Reddit. So if you're on Reddit and you want to join me, then I put my profile link down below and you can follow me there just for fun. So I don't know, that's the way things are going. I hope you guys are well, and I've missed you guys a lot, and I hope you're excited to see me. A lot's been going on, and oh, members, sorry I've been MIA. We will make it up to you with videos and whatever else you need. Just let me know. So thank you for waiting for me to come back. Same stuff as before, just figuring things out. And so I had to figure out like a technical thing, and it took a very long time to put together. I can't really talk about the ins and outs of it now because it's gone past the point of talking about it online. So I was able to like make sure everything's okay and everything's good. So I've done that. It took a while. So sometimes people don't go the way that you want them to go. So you have to adjust your approach, right? So that's kind of what I did. It's unfair that I had to take so much time to do it, but there was also like a problem in terms of, like in physical issue in terms of I can't say too much about this, but there was someone who was being very problematic in like a physical space. Like I don't when I say physical, like I wasn't being physically harmed, but there was like someone not online that was doing something problematic. So that was hard to deal with as well, but I'm hopeful that I've also figured that out and solved it. So anyway, so it's been like just a lot of stuff. Someone said the comment that like, people complain and this, I want everyone to know that like when I talk about things, it's not to complain. It's actually a way to manage circumstances, because when you talk about things in a certain type of way, it brings attention to the issue and it resolves a lot of misunderstandings. So you assume that, other actors or other people involved are good faith actors. And so you talk about things in order to persuade like a positive outcome and resolve misunderstandings. And that actually resolves 95% of the problems. So it's not about complaining. It's about mediating a hard landscape online space where, different types of people and different types of personalities show up and they do different things. Like the majority of people are honest, but then there are certain people that are not honest and they try to do all sorts of different things to take advantage of others or whatever. So so you talk about things so that the honest people, which is the majority, know about what's going on, and then we can proceed forward. But that too gets problematized as more problematic people enter the space with different games, different ideas, different agendas. Okay, the lights flickered, and I need to tell you we are in a bit of a storm. So there's a little bit of a storm. So if I suddenly go offline, it's most likely due to that. So, anyway, since I've been away for so long, just make sure to do a little bit of this. And I was hoping that since this is a video in which I'm calling like getting warmed up, because we haven't had like a reading in a while, my intention is to keep this available for everyone. But if it gets dark or if the lights go out, then it'll be members only. But for everyone, and especially members, if there are certain things you want to see from me, like I get requests for Lenormand and things like that, then please let me know, and I'll be happy to do it. So just leave me a comment. So down below, and tell me like if there's, if you really want some astrology content, or if there's something that you've seen me do before or haven't seen and you really want to see from me, this is the great time to let me know before things start to pick up. I'm just checking the chat. Thanks everyone for being here. And so I'm excited to be back, and let's just see, let's just see how it goes. So what I thought I would do first is do a little overview in terms of the astrology, and then I'll do a tarot reading with not much astrology today. I have been looking at the astrology, but I didn't prepare specific astrology for today. So this is just kind of based on my notes for the new moon. There's some things that I want to point out about this new moon that just passed, but there's a real good article on my Substack, like I said, about it. So I really liked the article. I thought it was good. So go check it out if you want to know more. The new moon's interesting. So the first thing I want to point out is the general symmetry of the astrology. So we have this new moon event that's happening in the last degree of Sagittarius. And since the eclipse that we had in September, we've had these late degree new moons, right? So since the new moon in Virgo in September, we've had these 29, 28 degree new moons, and they will continue until April. So there's this series. That's very normal. We are also in the middle of a series of full moons, also in a particular degree. It's just the nature of the orbit of the moon, right? It produces that. So we are in this cycle, a pattern, I don't know what to call it, but sequence. It's a sequence, okay? It's a series. It's kind of cool. It signifies the end of something. And we are currently at the end of an astrological time frame, because Neptune and Saturn, which are here, are going to move into Aries in February and form a conjunction. And so their conjunction is fairly rare. I think it's like 38 years just off the top of my head. And it's very special because it's happening at exactly like 0 degree Aries, which is not unprecedented in world history, but it's very exceedingly rare. So we have these two massive planets moving into Aries, and we'll talk about that separately. But this new moon and the current alignment of planets is echoing that event already in this new moon, and that's what's important. So the things that are happening now are a foreshadow, an insight. It's kind of an insight from the past looking to the future. So the future is the conjunction of Neptune and Saturn. I think everybody's anticipating what that's going to be, what that's going to look like. And this energy here is kind of the precursor. Now, I just thought of a symbolism or imagery for this. You know, Sagittarius has been described as shooting an arrow through the darkness of winter, seeding the beginning of spring, which is this conjunction, which actually happens still in the winter time, but happens at the position at which spring starts. So I think that's nice symbolism. So the new moon in Sagittarius, imagine like shooting a fire arrow straight into the heart of this conjunction. And this is actually a square aspect. And so I just want you to appreciate the symmetry of this. This new moon is still situated in our present time or the past. So in relation to the new beginning that Neptune and Saturn are going to initiate, the new moon is still here in 2025, right? And so therefore it has like a closure quality to it, some has a resonance with the past. It has a resonance with the reflection upon the last 14 or 2.5 years for Saturn, 15 years for Neptune, that they have been in Pisces. So it's a real closure event in which a lot of us may be experiencing epiphanies and deep understanding about where we are coming from and like where things are going or that kind of thing. Now, so I want to show you some symmetry with regard to this aspect before we get into the tarot. This is the symmetry of the new moon in Sagittarius and the winter solstice. I celebrate, how do I say this? I increasingly am celebrating this time of year, the 21st of December, as the new year. It makes logical sense to me. I'm excited because daylight is going to come. I live in Canada, so it gets dark here, especially in the winter time. So, I'm looking forward to getting more time in. So look at this. This is really beautiful. So I want to show you. So along the lines of this Sagittarian moon, check out my Substack article for more in-depth exploration of these themes. But here are some kind of top level things to get us thinking. And then when we do the tarot, we'll look at that maybe for each sign. Okay, so one of the symmetries, and this is for today's date, so everything's kind of shifted a little bit already, but let me show you anyway. So the first symmetry that we see that's really big for the new moon is the declination of some key planets. Mars, which is here in Capricorn, Venus, Mercury. I don't know if Mercury, I might be lying to you. Is Mercury out of bounds? You guys have to tell me. But the moon. So Venus, Mars, I think Mercury's out of bounds too. But maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. But the moon, Venus, and Mars are definitely out of bounds here. Oh, and Lilith. Not Mercury. Lilith is out of bounds here. So we have 4 of these personal transits that are out of bounds here in this position alongside this new moon. Out of bounds gives extremes in circumstances. When I look at the news right now, I'm like, holy moly, right? Like what is everybody? And it's not necessarily to do with like an increase of things happening. It's more to do with like the general unhinged quality of the current energy. So that's one consideration. And I'm going very quickly over this, but noted, right? Out of bounds planets here alongside this new moon. Then we have a massive shift from Sag into Capricorn energy. And that is Mars has already moved into Capricorn. The sun's moved into Capricorn. Then we're going to get Venus, I think on Christmas Eve, moving into Capricorn. And at the same time, Lilith moves into Sagittarius. So we have the more stable energy moving into Earth, while the chaotic energy of Lilith has now moved into fire. So we have an element shift, kind of like changing what's stable and what's unhinged. So we can consider that for each of the signs. But here's the symmetry that I noticed that's really quite beautiful. So I want to point it out to you. When the sun moved in to Capricorn, when the solstice happened, Venus and Mars are coming up into a 3-part syzygy with the sun. I posted about this on Reddit. You can look at my posts and then read the posts that I post there. I will be posting on Reddit and Substack different types of commentary anyway. So but anyway, there's a syzygy there in January that's coming up, and we're already initiating it alongside the winter solstice, which is this beginning of the new year. We're seeding because light is increasing from here on in. We have the Antiscia, right? The Antiscia aspect, where Venus and Mars are actually equidistant from the solstice point. So they're the same amount of degrees they were yesterday. Today, not so much, but still kind of close, which means that they're in a position at which the sun, when it's in those degrees, is expressing the same amount of light. Okay, so one is decreasing, which is over, and one is increasing in that position where the sun is. But it's not only that. So we have sun as the midpoint of that Antiscia aspect. So we have this symmetry that emerged just yesterday alongside the equinox, I call it a solstice, in which the sun is the midpoint between the Antiscia of Venus and Mars. So I thought that was quite beautiful, and as a precursor to that conjunction, quite beautiful. And I'll talk about that more when we get to it, but it's even more than that. So Lilith, which is also out of bounds, also at its chaotic point. By the way, they're low. They're like negative out of bounds. They're like south, hey, Australia and New Zealand and Africa and South America. All of you guys down there, it's down south, okay? Lilith, that's moved into Sagittarius, is actually making a sextile to Pluto. I thought something was going to happen, like a big world event. The only thing I noticed, but I haven't been watching the news too much, is, and I'm not trying to be political, but Putin lost his crap and was like calling Western European leaders young pigs, which is somewhat unlike him to be so unhinged. So I'm like, oh, that's kind of wild. And I believe, I don't know if you've heard my other videos, that Putin is greatly influenced by the position of the moon, specifically where Uranus is right now, next to Algol. I have this theory that Putin's moon is actually on Algol because it coincides with like a lot of the political stuff that's been going on. So that's what I saw. I'm not sure if anything's happened today, but the sextile between Lilith and Pluto to me symbolizes something sort of unhinged or unexpected, kind of the dynamic of power and Lilith, right? That Pluto represents with Lilith. It just seems like something might happen that's unexpected and rough. But take a look at this. The sun, which is at 1 degree Capricorn today, is actually in the middle. It's the midpoint between Lilith and Pluto right now. So it has these sorts of wings out to Venus and Mars and Lilith and Pluto, all the way from the new moon until now. Not only this, but Lilith and Pluto are in an Antiscia relationship. They're falling out of it now, but they're still within like a fairly good Antiscia range. It's a little bit loose, but it's still symmetrical. And again, the Antiscia just means that when the sun is here and when the sun is here, we are getting the same amount of light. Okay, so there's a symmetry between these two positions of the zodiac. So we have this great symmetry alongside this new moon and carrying into the new year, alongside a square to Saturn and Neptune. Another interesting thing that's happened, and even though here it's showing here, yesterday Saturn and Jupiter finally broke their exact trine. They're still in a loose range trine to one another, but they're kind of falling out of that trine. That's a part of the Great Conjunction that began in 2020. So we're getting lots of like energetic shifts and transformation while we have these transits here at the solstice point, which is the new year. This is the symmetry. Maybe on another video we can look at this closer, look back, like do a solar chart for the like astrological new year for the solstice. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe if some members are interested, we can do that for members, or if everyone's interested, we can do that for everyone, because I think there's something there astrologically for us to think about. But I just wanted to bring your attention to it before we got too far away from that date, from the 21st and from the new moon. Okay, so we have this sort of triggering and in a square relationship to Neptune and to some degree Saturn. And then there's a lot going on here it's not just a solstice. There's like something happening between the planets that's triggering power and emotions, and the conjunction between Mars, Venus, and the Sun, which is quite rare. It's not as common as, like a Venus-Mars conjunction. So it's like a more rare event that is also symbolic. So a lot of things are happening here in the sky that are initiating dynamic change. So if you're interested in politics, or maybe just taking a look at your own world, I would be looking at maybe subtle signs of change, or I would be really paying attention now to the things that are happening around us. Let me just take my notes, because this was all just from memory. Another thing I wanted to point out, and this is more for people who celebrate Christmas, or I'm not sure if there's another holiday on the 24th and 25th this year, but up until yesterday, the moon was making some hard angles to many of the planets, squares and oppositions and whatnot. But as of today, the moon begins a sequence of sextiles and trines to the different planets. The moon governs our emotions. And so when it starts making trines and sextiles, this is very positive for how we interpret the things that are happening. So between now and the 27th of December, we are getting a sequence of very positive alignment between the moon, our emotions, how we interpret everything, and the astrology around us. So even if there are some symmetries that are like a little rough, like Lilith and Pluto, and there's also a Sun Neptune square, if there are certain symmetries that are a little harsher, the moon is going to temper it out. So if you're going for Christmas, or to celebrate with your family, expect people, how do I say this properly? The probability of a positive outcome is better. Okay, so the probability of like everybody being in a good mood and not arguing is heightened right now. So I hope you guys have a happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, and all that. I just want to make sure that I've covered everything, and then we'll do the sign by sign. I think I covered it all. When I do a lot of readings back to back, then my mind starts getting like mush from remembering everything. But since I haven't done like a live reading in a while, like I'm pretty sharp. So hopefully I've remembered everything. That's good. Oh, the other observation that I had, and this is maybe to do with that Putin comment that I made, is Uranus is now moving back into Algol, and it's going to station direct on February 4th. So this is the last time that Uranus is approaching Algol. It's been in this 27 degrees of Taurus. This is the demon star, the famous Medusa star. And so it's going to be approaching Algol for now a couple months, but it's going to be the last time. This has been a major influence on us for the last couple years. And so this is the final thing. To me, that also indicates some level of increased instability. Overall, Pluto and Uranus are actually in another aspect called a contra Antiscia. This is an alignment through the equinox as opposed to the solstice. And so these are inverse light positions, which means that their light is inverse to one another. It's a different type of relationship. And if we do that solar return reading for the new year, I think we should, or maybe I should do it alone and then just post it for everyone, like a nice deep dive. They're in alignment like that through the equinox. And of course, to remind for people who are new, equinox is where Neptune and Saturn will join. So I see this symmetry happening between the new moon, the solstice, the equinox, and the conjunction of Neptune and Saturn. And I think it's, you know, kind of interesting to think about. So if you guys would like, then we can do the... Hold on. Oh. Hold on. I'm trying to move the... Oh, there we go. The astrology chart. Okay. So if you guys want, I'll do a tarot reading for you guys. I'll probably make some references to astrology because I can't help myself. But, you know, that's it for the information so far. I hope this was a good warm-up. It's more of like a structural reading, like the, hey guys, this is going on in the sky, these are the important parts, and then we'll go into different sections in more detail. And I'm pretty sure you guys want a Lilith reading, right? I posted something on Reddit for about Lilith entering Sag, just like less than what I told you guys today in this video. And I had a really strong response. I stopped talking about Lilith, frankly, because of, you know, whenever trends happen online, there's like a increase of, like sometimes like when a new topic comes online, especially in metaphysics or something else, a lot of people who have maybe low to moderate amount of knowledge about it start to talk about it, which is fine. I'm not a censorship kind of person, but that's what happens. And in certain topics in which there's some different opinions or different histories or confusion about facts, there's certain narratives that get pushed that are, you know, maybe not so productive. And so Lilith is one of these. And with Lilith, suddenly we had this influx of a very specific type of 1970s feminist rhetoric. It's based from some feminist books in the 1970s, reframing Lilith as like the empowered dark feminine kind of stuff. And, you know, because of the way the algorithms work and internet works and how everybody kind of dogpiles a topic when it becomes popular, it was pointless for me to try to talk about Lilith so much, because what would happen is I would get so much pushback from people who are just learning about it and saying, you don't know what you're talking. People get an attitude too, which is funny. The less they know, the bigger attitude they have. And so, you know, it just became punitive for me as a content creator to make content about this. The same thing happened with manifestation, lots of different topics, right? And so Lilith is one of these topics that's like a hot topic, but maybe there's some misinformation. I'm not super against like women taking back symbols, but in my opinion, it shouldn't be done at the expense of facts and history and truth, because that is misinformation, and that takes us further away from the truth rather than confronting it. But now I feel like more people are very well versed in astrology, and more people like see the different sides of things. So I feel more safe talking about it. So let me know in the comments if you're interested in, you know, a chat about Lilith. And that's why I haven't been posting on certain topics for a long time also. But from my post on Reddit yesterday, I noticed there was much less of that kind of bullying behavior. Like there was people speaking their opinions for sure, and that's cool. And you can have like differing opinions, but that kind of vitriolic, aggressive, agenda pushing is gone. So maybe this is a good time to pick up the topic again. Okay, so let's talk about signs. And then we have Capricorn to start, sun, moon, and rising. Okay, I'm going to switch my chart. I don't know. I can't help but not talk about astrology, but I really wanted to do like a tarot warm-up. So let's see with tarot, and then if I have some comments for Capricorn based off of that, then I'll turn on the chart and show you. Hi Capricorn, let's take a look at your tarot card. Let's do 6. I am going to rush through this because of the light issue. Okay, so we have the 10 of Wands. We have the 3 of Swords. And then we have the 5 of Cups. You can do it. It's okay. Definitely feels like you've been under a lot of pressure and feeling maybe some degree of disillusionment or worry about a situation, like you don't have so much agency in a situation. You don't have as much ability to change things as you wish. Here is the next message. Then we have swiftness. So this is Mercury and Sag, where Mercury is right now. So I like this. And for you, this happens in the 12th house. So it's very much like from behind the scenes, from somewhere, like there's something from behind guiding you. There's information coming to you. And another 5. You know, oh, we have 3 5s. That's pretty unstable. Let's see one but we have peace in a situation. So, I think you're starting off this year in the sense of feeling like you had not succeeded at something. You hadn't reached a conclusion that you had fought for. You've had like a pretty hard time at things. The cards, I'm not like a love and light type gaslighter. So we have the 10 of Wands, the 3 of Swords, 5 of Cups, 5 of Pentacles, 5 of Swords. It just feels like all around you there's been just not enough energy with which to work with. I think that the next new moon is going to be very positive for you. It's going to be also at the end of Capricorn season, so in January. And I think that, you know, you're just coming, it feels like you've come into something with a lot of effort, Capricorn. You've put a lot of effort into something. You tried to really make it work. And yet there's this kind of sense that you didn't get to succeed in the manner in which you wanted to. You didn't reach that benchmark. You were not able to get to the point that you wanted to. Behind the scenes, and this is hidden maybe even from you in the 12th house, there is something coming. Remember in the astrology section, if you watched, when I talked about the Sagittarian arrow kind of getting, you know, flung or shot into the Aries beginning. I think that's what this is very similar to, this card, the 8 of Rods. So there's a new beginning that is started for you. You likely don't see it. You're kind of oblivious to the positive things that are being said to you and about you. But I think that there is going to the situation that you have on hand, and you likely know exactly what I'm talking about because it's probably all encompassing, like far reaching everywhere. It's pretty dodgy right now. There's a multitude of factors that are not helping you in this situation at all. There's apathy from the people around you. You can't get people to understand what you're trying to say or what you're trying to do. And also financially, there's concerns. So there's a whole mix of problems that are partly outside of your own control at this time. I do sense a lot of effort. I do sense a lot of effort, and that's where the Three of Swords comes in. When you've put a lot of effort into something and it's just not working out how you had hoped. So the situation as we describe it is like, it's not defeat. It's just you feel defeated because you worked so hard for a different outcome, right? But this Eight of Wands to me signifies that you're definitely, something's initiating for you. This is not going to be a failure. This is going to be a success. What I feel is that what you're focused on is not what the success is going to be about. So you need to release your attachment to the focus of your determination, and there is something else in that is going to thrive. In other words, here's an example. When you are very much focused on something, when you're learning something, let's say you're learning math, okay? And you're not very good at math, you put in a ton of effort. And then you sort of maybe not fail, but you don't get an A in math, and the goal that you were after kind of falls away. You're still picked up the skills and abilities in your math class that you can apply to other things. There's still something else out of this whole situation that will thrive. On the bottom is that the intensity with which you approach the situation, you get rest now from it. So the exertion of effort and force, you get a break, a mental break more than everything else. And I think it has to do with like how much energy you've been putting into a situation. It's just overwhelmingly, you've been trying to make something work that at this time is not aligned in a way that you could make it work, but there's still some redemptive things that you're going to gain out of it. Okay? So that's Capricorn energy. I didn't feel the need to talk about the astrology, but for you specifically, but if I have something for the other signs, I'll let you guys know. Okay, so let's see. Next sign. How was that? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so let's see next sign. We have Aries next. So Aries is one of these signs that's kind of at the center of things, aren't they? You guys are very much at the center of, the shift that's going on. Hold on. So I usually have like yoga blocks because I sit on the ground when I do this, but I forgot my yoga blocks. So I'm going to have my something else. It's a balancing board for your feet. Here, I'll show you. or to stand on, right? This will be good. Okay, so let's start with Aries, and I should switch the chart. I'm looking at the chart. I'm not necessarily showing it to you guys. Aries. Hi, Abra. How are you? Nice to see you. Okay, so Aries, sun, moon, and rising. Okay, so Aries. So like I said, the anticipatory energy of Aries. I mean, the imminence of what's coming, like, it's great, right? Like it's very frightening, but it's also like, it has many possibilities. So it's full of adventure, right? It's full of adventure. Let's see. So we have the 10 of Rods. Let's see what else. And again, I'm going really fast with the tarot today just because I want to make this available for everyone. We have the Chariot. And we have the Lust card, which is Leo energy. And then we have the Two of Discs, which is Saturn, Jupiter in in Capricorn. And then we have the star, which is Aquarius. And then we have the Three of Rods, which is Sun and Aries. There we go. Well, these are much more hopeful than the Capricorn ones. We have the Princess of Pentacles. There's definitely a new beginning for you up ahead. I do right away, and when I introduce this, the sense of anticipation but fear is like really present. So there's a great hope, but there's also a great fear. There's something that's been blocking your progress, and then there's some kind of a spiritual answer or understanding to those circumstances. You had felt very downtrodden by this energy, and now you are finding your way through the problem. Okay. I think that there's something very creative in this energy for you. There's, like I said, it's almost like you get to finally say and do what you want. And I think that that is going to be the space in which you shine when you really double down and dig in. Something that is deeply in your heart is manifesting, Aries, and it's coming true for you. I get the sense that someone around you could be pregnant or having a baby, or it almost feels like a grandmother who's about to have a grandchild, or it's not so much that you're pregnant. It feels more like an aunt who's having a child, who's having like a grandchild, like some kind of a woman whose niece or daughter is having a child, son is having a child. And so there's this rejoice kind of energy. I do think that there's the things that have stopped your progress in the circumstances that we are around, those things may not be lifting. There's some real fundamental things that are stuck in their place. You can't change certain things. Some things are fixed, but there's like new ways around the problem that are going to make it more easy for you to navigate. I also feel like there's this great sense of destiny that you're embarking upon, and that leads you straight into a lot of alignment with altruism and genuine feelings. It's a feeling of like a big circle coming around for you to a thing that you had hoped for, something that you really wanted. So I saw Abra in the comments say, oh goodness, if it's something that you don't want or that's inconvenient, this is not here. It's just, this is something that is welcome. This is something that is wanted. This is something that is after a period of heavy opposition. There's nothing negative about this. This is all positive and inspiring, with a lot of growth, with a lot of potential. There's a lot of, it's almost like deep passion. Now, I will show you something in the chart just to prove my point. When we have the Saturn-Neptune here in the 12th house, this is where I see this Leo card here coming from. So something that's deep within you, a private desire, something that you truly want from within, that is being brought into focus. Some aspect of that is coming true for you, Aries. So whatever beginning is coming is material, it's physical, and I think that it's going to bring you a lot of joy. I'm guessing that some of you already know what it is, because I feel like this new moon, winter solstice, that's when you would have found out, or you have some signs. So look for clues, okay? Okay, so next sign. Yeah, I'm not cursing anyone here, don't worry. Even if Capricorn, even for Capricorn, even though that was like a super dark spread, it's not going to be a bad thing. Libra's next. So, Libra, interesting. Okay, so Libra's energy, in terms of energy, because I've not been avoiding astrology this time that I have not been around. So Libra's energy has not been coming up strong for a long time now. So there's something going on with Libra that is not super intense. There's a backseat sort of story going on, or maybe something personal, but it's not coming through as super like some signs are just, I keep on seeing things about Aries, or I keep on seeing a reference to Pisces or this and that, but Libra just seems to be off the map, and I'm not sure. I think it's a good thing. I just think that like maybe it's a time for more private time for Libra. Then we have the Seven of Cups, which is Venus in Scorpio. So all that Scorpio energy is coming to an end. And then we have the Sun in Virgo, which is Eight of Pentacles. And then we have the Moon. And then we have the Emperor. This is nice. I think it's almost like it feels like you've been through something, and then you've been taking some private time to recoup from the drama and the intensity. And then we have this is really nice. If you have a partner, there's something really good beginning with that partner. Something very positive, something very bright. And then we have the Ace of Swords. You're going to get a message. I sense that there's a partner who's stepping up in a positive light to support you. There's Three of Pentacles. Something's been a dark journey, or maybe not dark journey. Let's not get dramatic, but it's been like laden with hard emotions, maybe not exactly where you want to work or what you want to be. I think you've done a fairly good job, but it's felt arduous and maybe not as aligned to your true skills and talents. And now there's a shift towards something that is more true to you. Now, Uranus rules the Fool card. And remember, I was mentioning that Uranus and Pluto are in a contra Antiscia relationship. So they're not only in a trine out of sign, because of the retrograde, they're in a contra Antiscia now, which is a very specific activation. So Pluto is in a trine to Sedna, trine to the perigee of the moon, and in a contra Antiscia to Uranus. And I think that's super interesting in terms of like a breakout energy is happening. Something I think is going to be very emancipatory for many people, not just Libras. I do feel like there's something coming for Libra, maybe attached to work of a positive nature, that is going to be aligned to someone who they're very close with, a partner, a husband, some like possibly a male figure with whom they have a good relationship. It does seem as though you've been in an environment in which there was not so much pull. There was not so much, like you really tried to make it work and it was just not. It's almost like working in a job when you're really trained for something else. That's what it feels like. And it's the length when you're at a job and you're working for a long time in this kind of way. And there's, how do I say this? There's like this sense, it's the long-termness. So sometimes people work for a couple years in a job that doesn't align with who they are. And then there's sort of, it's kind of like a liminal space. That's what it feels like. And you're just wondering when it will come to an end. This is in the past. I think you've just traversed that and you made it out okay. And I think you're about to have your fresh start to do with work specifically. Okay. So yeah, you were trying to make something work, but it didn't work out the way that you wanted it to. Okay. Or you did the best you can. The Eight of Pentacles says you did a good job, but it just wasn't meant to be. And someone who you have a strong relationship, the Emperor, that person's initiating something. Now I will show you guys the chart just to show you something before we move on. So again, we have the winter solstice, which is normal every year. You get this, but this alignment for Libra really happens at the IC. Now the fourth house is the home, and so this could be like new beginning. Maybe you and your partner are buying a home, and so your attention focuses onto that, and that's much more rewarding. So there's some kind of shift that's happening now, or maybe there's a relationship improvement or relationship progress that you're going to see by the spring. We'll talk about that in separate videos because that's to do with Saturn and Neptune. So there's some kind of a shift that's going on. Okay, so let's see the next message. So I have Leo next, Sun, Moon, and Rising. I always study the order at which these cards come up. I find that super interesting. And I do feel like it kind of resonates with the astrology and the frequencies. Like certain signs come up first for, you notice this has been a lot of like fire and air signs coming up right up front. So we have Leo. Sometimes we get all the earth signs come up front. Sometimes it's all the fixed signs. It's different every time, but it's kind of interesting. There are certain symmetries in the order, I think. So if you're watching this for your sign, kind of pay attention. I don't do that formally, but there's some kind of a symmetry to that order too. Okay, so hi Leo, let's take a look at your message. We have the Eight of Wands. We have the Ace of Cups. Nice. So quick expressions of love, maybe some kind of a commitment. Let's see if it's possible using the astrology. I'm looking at your astrology. I can't find Aries in your... Oh, there it is. Okay. There's something that's coming up for you. So the solstice is coming up in your 6th house. Then we have the Knight of Discs. In this deck, this is the King of Discs. Let's see, something else. And then we have the King of Wands. And then we have the Magician. Woo-wee. You're getting... I don't want to spoil it. Let's see. We have the Princess of Pentacles. That's some cards, Leo. This is the first one to get excited about. We have the Ten of Swords on the bottom, which is Gemini, Sun in Gemini. Okay, so the first thing I was kind of noticing to do with your astrology, maybe I'll show you in the chart, is that the solstice shows up for you in your 6th house, while your equinox and the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction is going to be in your 9th house. Okay, so that's all I wanted to point out for you guys. Immediately I felt like you're getting something right now that is going to come to term by the equinox. And I think that you're going to have the feeling that you want to fully engage with that energy now, but I think that it won't really materialize for you until the spring or until the February, because there's 2 equinox points that are happening in 2026. There's the spring equinox, and then there's the Saturn and Neptune conjunction. So both are at that position. So it could be either February or March. But it looks very good for you, Leo. And there's a message in here because your solstice happens in the 6th house. By the spring, you have the outcomes that you wanted. This is a King of Wands too. This could be you. I really strongly get a feeling that something that you put in a lot of effort into now will yield very good results by the springtime. So pay attention for that. Then we have something really magical is happening around you that's going to lead to a physical positive outcome. This has something to do with the end of a situation that has passed. That situation is long over. And I feel like there's something that you're coming into that's material, physical improvement. And you're likely hearing about it now or making decisions about it now, or you get some kind of insight about it now. beforehand. This could be people coming together into a relationship. Just because you're a fire sign, it doesn't mean you're not one of these two cards, and don't get limited by gender. They both could be any gender that applies to you. Right away when I saw these two cards, I felt like a deep connection between these people. And when I speak about relationships, this is for people who don't usually watch me. I mean all kinds of relationships. Now, of course, for some people, love is the primary interest, but we have to account for the fact that there are many people who have lots of different types of relationships, friendships, platonic there's all sorts of different alignments for people. And I think it's really limiting just to say, love, because love can be expressed towards people in all sorts of different alignments. And for example, a lot of people who watch me are older. There's a lot of people who have been with me for a long time. Maybe they've gone through like a marriage before. And there's a lot of people that are older who don't necessarily want love in that 20-year-old romantic sense. They kind of possibly want a friendship or a companionship. And maybe it's not to do with romance. So that's my little disclaimer about that. That's just how I read, Sorry if it's being redundant, but I have like a unique way of seeing it. I think it's more aligned for a general reading. So don't get discouraged. The important thing here is that it's a very, very dear alignment. Dear meaning they just feel like they're really well aligned Earth energies. Now, if you're a Leo, so that's not Earth, but again, don't get stuck on the details. There's something material coming out of this relationship, progress, success. There's like magic involved, intervention. So I felt like somebody was almost rushing at something. There's like a lot of joy involved in this, a lot of happiness, very beautiful. And this Ten of Swords is, when you finally let the past go sometimes, then you can really embody the present. That could be something to do with that as well. I do have a feeling that there's this Knight of Wands and, this card, he is pointing in this direction, which to me could signify that there's some kind of a separation that's going on. So at the same time, maybe somebody who's been causing problems for you is leaving the picture. But it feels almost like an exodus of something and like a good outcome attached to that. There's some good, takeaway, or there's definitely a good outcome. But in terms of the astrology, right away, what I saw is that the things that you apply yourself to right now in the 6th house are the positive outcomes in your springtime/February. So you'll be very happy you did whatever it is that you're doing. Okay? So good luck with that and happy holidays. I'll see you soon. That was very good for Leo. Just like the Ten of Swords. I mean, Ten of Swords is always ominous to get, but I feel that that's not the end of it's not terrible. Let's see the next message. Okay, so we see the Pisces next. Hi, Pisces. Let's take a look at... I have to shift. I forgot my blocks. The blocks keep me aligned in such a way that I can sit for hours, but I'm restless. Okay, so I'm going to get the astrology out for Pisces. Let's take a look at your sign. Okay. So that alignment of Saturn and Neptune is a Pisces thing as well, even though it's happening in Aries. The lead up to it, they're entering together. And especially if you're born at the end of Pisces, or if you have transits at the end of Pisces, that's very significant for you. Okay, too soon to tell. Let's see the tarot. So we have the Two of Swords. When I'm being quiet, I'm just looking at the chart. And then we have the Two of Wands. And then we have the Five of Pentacles. And then we have the Three of Swords. And then we have the Lust card, Leo. Leo's important because the nodes are moving into Leo and Aquarius in 2026. And then we have the Page of Wands, Sag, Leo, or Aries. So Pisces, I have a little bit of a warning here for you. I do have the sun on the bottom, which is always the best omen you want. Okay, I feel as though there could be a moment in which material things, you're worried about certain material things, okay? And in that moment of vulnerability, like you're not sure about something to do with money or material things, someone may come in with like a fast answer. I would be very wary of this offer. So like someone's coming, like, and in particular, if their offer involves something to do with like deceptive activity, okay? I'm not going to say what kind of deceptive activity, but it's going to be different for every single person. But somebody could be coming in with like a fast offer. I would say don't take that energy. Overall, the sun makes everything much better, but you do have the Three of Swords, and I'm wondering what that is about. I think that there's something that's haunting you from the past that you're currently grappling with. And I think it's influencing how you are seeing like the current dynamics around you. An event is still like with you or kind of left over, but you're pulling through it with like a strong conviction that you can get through it. This is very normal, so don't be afraid. People have to hunker down through things oftentimes, you know? So this is a normal phase that I think many of you are in. But I think that you're already seeing there's like a lot. I love the twos because twos are like when you see the potential of something, right? So you have the potential of the Two of Swords and the Two of Wands. And you're starting to put energy behind where you are going. Don't make shortcuts. You have enough energy on your own to get through to where you want to go. The conjunction in next year, see this, your second house is very vulnerable right now because of this conjunction. There's going to be a lot of good and a lot of bad that comes with that conjunction. It's an extreme energy. And so for you in the second house, the best thing to do is to be careful and prudent with your financial decisions at this time until this happens and you sort of know where you are at, where you stand. Okay? So trust that the process is with you in a positive direction. Trust that you're going through it okay. If there's momentary, sorry, I lost my words. If there are temporary momentary, if there are temporary, if there are temporary worries about financial, like the direction that you're going, then don't succumb to somebody else's suggestion that like you can do it quicker or cheaper or don't create shortcuts for yourself. What I see is a very powerful energy of you hunkering down and having an assured future. And despite what the outside world seems like right now, you just pull through and you're going to do really well. Okay? So that's what I see astrologically. Don't mess with your money until after, I would say, even the equinox in 2026, so March. Here is the next sign. So we have Scorpio next. I forgot to close the chart. This is my regular default, so okay. So I'll open up Scorpios and do a reading for you guys. Okay, so let's see. Scorpio. Oh, Scorpio got a couple. The Queen of Swords, the Six of Pentacles, and the Star. Something really good is coming through for Scorpio with a very positive outcome. Possibly a job offer, a promotion, something that is fated. There's some intervention that is happening that is very positive for Scorpio type folk energies. Okay, so let's see the next message. If they jump out, then I'll look, right? So we have the four of Wands. And then we have the Ace of Cups. I think there's going to be a lot of aces that show up through today's reading. And then we have the Eight of Cups. We have the Star card. Ooh. Then we have the Moon card. And then we have the Six of... I think you see some things. And then we have the King of Cups or the Knight of Cups here. I think you perceive something in your vicinity. There's a perceptive thing going on. So you see people being a certain way, or seeing the world a certain way. You see people acting a certain way. You're seeing something external to you. It's almost like sitting on a park bench and watching people in the park. Not necessarily anything to do with you, but yet what you see is somewhat important for you, Scorpio. So pay attention. You kind of observe this situation. And I think it imposes on you some kind of like a vibe that you feel about the world right now. So it's something that's, we see people every day living their lives or whatever. But this, whatever you're perceiving, is going to have an effect on you. And it's going to have an effect on how you see life right now, or like how you are living your life. Okay? You're going to come out of that kind of philosophy mentality with some kind of logical resolution. So you're sort of left with a conundrum by something you see. Something has a great influence on you. I'm still shifting around. Something has a great influence on you. But I think you're going to see your way through it. What I really like in this spread is the Ace of Cups, the Star card, and the Four of Wands. For some of you, you may be entering into an alternative living situation with someone. This isn't roommates. This is to do with like a relationship, but it's non-traditional, whatever that means for you. There's a different arrangement in a living situation, and I think that you're fairly happy about it, but I do think it's different, or it's strange, or there's some kind of a caveat to it. This doesn't have to do with whatever you perceive that situation. That's completely a separate thing. There's some kind of a new offer. There's something on the horizon for Scorpio that you're going to pursue. It's something to do with love and relationships, but at first it comes at you in a way that seems not like a love affair. Let's just put it that way. There's something like unique about it and very strange. But I think that it fills a certain need for you, something to do with home, something to do with house, fulfillment. There's like a hope. Maybe you're somewhat skeptical about it because of what you saw. So maybe you saw someone cheating on someone else, and that just made your perception think about those kinds of things. And you have to get through that perception in order to tolerate what's happening in your life. But what's happening in your life is very good. It's something good to do with the home. It's something good to do with love, a new beginning. But it's definitely something fated. It's something that's meant to happen. So trust that process. Okay, so we're going to do the next sign. I'm getting worried about how dark it is. We're about halfway through. So we have Taurus next. Hi, Taurus. And, oh, Scorpios, before you go, just remember Lilith is out of your sign. We had a big talk on Reddit about this. So, yeah, it's definitely like, I didn't highlight this, but Lilith in Scorpio is a rough one. It's not an easy transit for any Scorpio placements. So be very happy that she's gone and that pressure is off. So we have Taurus next, and the same is true for Taurus. For Tauruses, Lilith had a much more huge impact on your relationships. Like if you are in a relationship or were in a relationship and dynamics with others, this may have been a particularly like hostile time for you. Okay, not necessarily to do with you, but maybe they were acting kind of unhinged, or maybe like the external to you that's close to you. Here is the next message. We have the Ace of Swords. And then we have the Empress. And then we have the Two of Swords. And then we have the Lovers. And then we have the Eight of Rods. And then we have the Eight of Wands. Okay. On the bottom, Two of Cups. Hey, Taurus, hey. Look at this. I saw somebody ask a question. No, I'm trying to get through this all sign so that I can have it for everybody to watch. So I'm not answering questions right now. Sorry. But watch for your sun, moon, and rising, and then hopefully your answer will be there. Okay, Taurus. You know, you have a lot of control, and this is more the astrology than this. You have a lot of control in your life right now over your circumstances, but when the spring comes, even February, when that conjunction happens, it's happening in your 12th house. That is very, very unstable. It's not necessarily bad, but it's going, like in terms of agency in your situation, if you have a question about something that you need to figure out, my answer for you is to deal with it now instead of later, because then things are going to come up for you in February through March that you're not going to have as much control as you do now. So just do whatever. It has to do with like organizing your life, initiating, making a decision about a job, something like that. Making a decision about life. Make that decision now instead of later. It'll be much more unstable later. Now, we have the Ace of Swords, the Empress, the Two of Swords, the Gemini, Lovers, and then we have the Eight of Rods, and then we have the Nine of Rods and the Two of Cups. I think that there's some kind of a peace that's going on in a relationship. Peace is being achieved or reached. This could be after communication. It almost feels like something's new or fresh, and this is the first time you're talking about it. But it's gonna, maybe it's anticipatory, meaning you hope something will go a certain way, but you hadn't talked about it, so you don't know if you're gonna go that way in the situation. But I think that after talking about it, I think it's gonna go at least begin in a positive direction. So there's some arrangement. It's almost like having a conversation about where you want to go in life, and like you're worried that the other person doesn't want to go where you want to go, but after you talk, you kind of realize that you're both going in the same direction. So it turns out to be a positive communication. There's also communication coming to you from a sibling or someone close to you. Maybe not necessarily like your partner, but more of like a cousin, sibling, someone who you're close with, but someone who's near your own age. I think things are working out for you, Taurus. There's like, they're not material alignments. These are spiritual alignments that are forming around you, that are sort of guiding you to where you need to go. From that is a very good position to make money, to save money, to to establish the life that you want to live. So despite the fact this not being a strong material reading, meaning there's no guarantees about material prospects and opportunities, there's the foundation from which you will be able to attain great financial opportunities. Uranus is in the last phase of your Taurus sign, so that's going to be happening until early or mid next year. And so just be patient with that final process. If you've had a little bit of a go with it, meaning if it's been a little chaotic, it's not going to be as chaotic as the last 7 years. So it's going to really taper off now, but you may have to pace yourself. I have a sense that you have material goals, like you want to make money right now. That's a primary thing in your mind. And I'm not saying you're not going to make money, but I think like where you want to go, this is not about making money. This is about laying the foundation for like a safe and stable life. Definitely positives in terms of love, alignment with people with whom you're close with, but mostly on a spiritual level, there's kind of like a laying of the playing field, right? Like in the sense that like you position yourself in a healthy way spiritually, from which you can grow spiritually or in terms of your beliefs, and from that everything else around you kind of aligns. I do think that you've been under the pressure of like a partnership relationship that was very unstable for the last 10 months. I don't mean your primary partner necessarily, although for some of you that might have been that. These cards are not saying you have a particular difficult romance on your hands, but someone around you has been really throwing the curveball at you for the last 10 months, or something's been really chaotic happening around them, and that's been destabilizing you. And I think that with this Lilith exodus, it's really going to move on from that. So that's wonderful. Okay, so next sign. You guys see the light kind of getting dark, so I'm sorry if I'm reading fast. We have Cancer next. Sun, Moon, and Rising. Okay, Cancer, let's take a look at your chart. I'm just looking at sorry, I'm looking at the chart. And somebody said hi, so hi in the comments. So, okay. This is a reading about choice. I can tell right now the choices that you're making about, especially like alignments and partnerships, are leading to like an extreme event early next year. Either the event will be very positive, but if you choose from like a negative place, or if you don't ignore the warning signs, you're setting yourself up for something that you don't want to be aligned to. So it's a bit of a warning reading. Don't be upset with me, but it's really saying, like, if you're going against your instincts and trusting someone in terms of like you're meeting them or like you're somehow like joining forces, whether it's in a relationship or business, that could be a very big make it or break it moment for you next year. And I would be very careful to assess that person in terms of character, in terms of who they are. Let's see, because if you align yourself with the wrong person, that's going to magnify to a very bad degree. But if you align yourself with someone who's very like steady, and then that could be a potential beginning that you're hoping it is. I do feel like regardless, you feel like you're beginning something great, but I'm just heed caution and be cautious in that energy. Let's see the next message. We see the 8 of Pentacles, and we have the 7 of Rods. And then we have the Lovers card. I definitely feel like there's like a strong offer of alignment between yourself and someone else that's very tempting. Then we have the Knight of Swords, the King of Swords. That can be the person. No, not Sag. It could be Sagittarius. That could be a Freudian slip. Gemini, Aquarius, or Libra. And then we have the 7 of Wands. I don't know what it's called. It's not a Freudian slip because it's not subconscious. When you're doing kind of like messages, like what would the word be for something that, you know, kind of sneaks in intuitively, like it's an intuitive slip, you know, it's not Freudian. So what I'm saying is, because I reverted to naming this a fire sign, in your case, it could be a fire sign. 3 of Swords. That's the potential. You need to walk a fine line there, Cancer, and be very cautious, the world. There's great potential for you out there. Listen, I'm an Aquarian moon. I'm very much an Aquarian moon. There's my Aquarian moon right there. That's this card. So I'll give you a piece of advice. In this kind of situation, I would go alone. I would do it alone. It's not that, it's the potential of risk is so high that I would just not engage with that. Or I would go slower until I could make a more informed decision. That's my advice. And I'm not trying to scare you, but the potential here is so big. What you're being pulled towards is so big. And then yet we get this kind of worry, futility, you know, big question mark here. If you put too much effort behind something, I'm worried that it's going to backfire for you. So in other words, it feels like something's offering a lot up front, and it could be a wonderful potential. Somebody could bring in some truth for you, which is the King of Swords. Something's like bring you back down to reality. There's like a passion here, you know, a passion for love. There could be a passion for project or something that you feel very excited about. But I think that there's this is the dark 3 of Swords in this deck particularly, and I read this 3 of Swords heed caution. Like, this person is not going to be who you thought they were going to be. And I think that, yeah, as an Aquarius moon, in that type of situation where it's a make it or break it, I'd rather not, you know. I'll just do it by myself until I only go after positives. I don't gamble with things. And we all have this issue with gambling, because society conditions us to like, maybe we'll take a chance. And I think that that's a very like dangerous, seductive narrative in our culture. Like, oh, just take a chance on him, you know, or just take a chance on her, or take a chance on this. It's like, no, you stick to your guns and do something steady until something comes through that makes sense, you know, if it makes sense. But if it's like, if you're being sold something and you're just like, you know, being tempted, that's kind of like, be careful of temptation, right? But there is a good outcome. You'll get further by just being cautious and not signing on the dotted line until you know what you're signing. Okay. So be very, very cautious with big offers from unvetted sources. That's the best way to say it. Okay. So sorry, that was in strong message. Did we do Sag? No. It's coming up. I already know. Okay, so next is Virgo. Hey, Virgo, let's do your reading. I have 3 more to do, so I'll tell you. This is my Kanye moment. It's like, no, we haven't done such. It's going to go last because I saw the order. You know, when Kanye was like, I'm not going to say it, and then he said it, and I was like, okay. Okay, so I thought that was really, I didn't like what he said. I thought that was rough, but that was funny. That's a very Gemini moment. I don't know if you guys know what I'm referring to. I don't want to say it because I don't want to spread like negativity, but the logical flow or whatever of it was funny. The subject matter was offensive and, you know, disgusting. Okay, so Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Carry on, Veroosh. Okay. Okay. Oh, the internet is too limited for me sometimes because I want to, you know, talk about nuance and yeah. And the internet is so literal. So, yeah. Okay, so Virgo, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's take a look. We have the 10 of Swords. Speaking of Sun and Gemini. Okay. Then we have the Queen of Swords. And then we have the Hermit. And then we have the Prince of Discs. And then we have the 4 of Cups. And then we have the Ace of Swords. And then the 2 of Swords on the bottom. Okay. So Virgo, let's see in your chart. Okay. So I just did a reading for who? Cancer. Yours is coming in very similar. There could be a romance around you, Virgo, at this time. If you're having a romance right now, this may lead to endings by February or March, and endings to do with things you're not expecting right now. So like it could affect your job or your living situation. It could trigger something down the line, not necessarily to do with that relationship. So if you're dating around, this is casual dating messages. If you're dating around or if you're being social, be very careful with who you align and how much energy you give over. That's not the cards, that's the astrology. When I was looking at your chart, that's what it seemed like. I'm sorry it's so dark right now, but hopefully the picture is good enough still. So you're coming out of a situation in which a lot of people got 10 of Swords. So there was a breakdown in some kind of symbolic order between yourself and other people. There was, the agreement was broken, in circumstances for you and for others. I think a lot of people are experiencing the situatedness of their position breaking apart right now. So there's a fracture. There's like, and I think that's probably to do with bigger world things happening. The world's chaotic right now because it's expensive and it's shifting and all this stuff. So for a lot of people, there's this kind of situational change. Things are changing and ending. Okay. But overall, the reading is positive. I think that whatever's happened, all the anxiety wrapped up in that situation is now finished. So all the effort that you were putting into it to make it viable is now you don't have to put in that worry. And there's an alignment here between people. We have the Prince of Discs, the Queen of Swords, and the Hermit, which I think is you, Virgo. And there's this kind of like a group of people walking together towards new beginnings. So whatever fractured, whatever didn't work, that's in the past now. And now you can move forward in better company. You know, you were in the wrong situation, Virgo, and now you're moving forward with a better alignment with people who hear you or who see you. You were in the wrong situation before, and now you're not. So whatever chaos you were facing before, it had to do with a mismatch of you and the place that you were in. And now moving forward, you're seen, you're heard, you're being responded to well. And that leads a piece for you to be constructive to move forward. Okay? And in February, March, there will be some continuation of this transformation for you. So if you've been, how do I say this? You sort of got trapped. Okay? You sort of got trapped in circumstances that were holding you in one place and not really letting you go, not letting you move forward. And now it's not to do how do I say this? Wrong people were around you, the wrong situation, and you just couldn't make do with it. But now you're in people who see you, who don't have bias against you or who have a positive. You know, when someone doesn't like you, you cannot convince them to like you, right? Everything that you say is going to be misunderstood. And now you're in a place where you're understood and there's peace with that. So now you can move forward and more separation from that misunderstanding happens February to March of next year. And we'll talk about that in other videos. Okay, thank you, Virgo. Okay, so 3 more to go, and it's getting dark outside, but I'm going to haul butt and get you guys done. So we have Gemini. You know, for the Sagittarius lady, I inadvertently shifted the order, so maybe you're next. I don't know. I didn't look this time. Okay, so Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Okay, so Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's see. I'm looking at the chart if you're wondering why I'm whispering and what the heavy breathing is about. I'm looking at the chart, which is kind of behind me, the way that I'm sitting today. Okay, so... Oh, so Gemini, you may have gotten... Okay. You may be in the midst of a pretty big change right now, and especially early January, that might really ramp up with the conjunction of, is a syzygy, Sun, Venus, and Mars. 10 of Pentacles. And the 3 of Pentacles. And the Queen of Discs, Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn. And the 10 of Cups. And the 5 of Cups. And the adjustment card. The only time we got this, Gemini, this is Libra. On the bottom, I have the 8 of Swords. If you feel the urge to change something up right now, then you should do it. You will be very happy you did come February, March. In February, March, you get a significant improvement in friends around you who are bringing in a lot of positivity. I feel like your goodwill and your money is being misspent right now. It's being wasted. Like, you come into something with money and good faith, good attitude. And I think that either somebody's not, it's almost like giving your kids Christmas presents and they're not grateful. That kind of energy here. And I think that, I'm not saying ditch your kids, but outside of your kids, I think you're going to be moving on from the situation. You come in with goodwill. And you see that good will or good position being misvalued. And so I think you're making a decision to move on or change. And then by the spring, this is not in this reading, you are going to have an influx of a lot of friendly people coming your way. Probably from like beyond where you are. I think this is you, the Queen of Pentacles, even though it's an earth sign in the card. I think that's you, whether you're a man or a woman. And I think that the thing that comes through very strong is that your goodwill, your good intentions, your good efforts are getting disrespected. Okay? So you go to work and you do a good job and they don't see it. You put in time, you put in effort, they don't recognize it. And I think you've come to a place like, should I do something about it? And this is saying like, make that change. Now, in this economy, I'm not going to tell anyone to quit their job because that's just unethical. It's a very, unhinged, unsafe economy that we're in right now. So you do what you think is best. But I do think that there's this level of, it's kind of like a slapstick comedy where one guy kind of cleans up the mess, puts all the leaves together, and the next guy just walks through it. And you keep seeing that kind of waste of your energy, and you're just like, you're just done with the lack of reciprocity. Okay? So I think you're at a breaking point, and outside of doing something that's not good for your life overall or unsafe, I think it's time to make a decision, Gemini, right now. And then you'll see the outcome, like you'll see a more positive environment in the springtime towards like the harmony of things around you. Okay. I'm going to try to, because we have 2 more, I'm going to try to fix this light so that, because it's much brighter than what the camera sees. Even though this looks nice, by the time I'm done too, you guys are not going to see it. So in order to keep this available for everyone, it's not going to be as nice, but it is going to be something. Okay. Oh, I don't know if this is better. Let's see. Oh, sometimes when you turn the saturation down, oh, that's so awful. I am so sorry, you guys. I did my best. Oh, look at this. That's good, right? A little better. It's very like Winter Solstice energy. That's better. Well, it's as good as we're going to get. So, okay, next sign. Let's see. So Sagittarius, hey, so for the lady who was waiting, here you go. I did switch, I kind of like shuffle them. It's not for any like ulterior motive. It's just automatic. So here we go, Sag. It's good enough. It's something. But it is Winter Solstice, the shortest day of the year. So, only looking up from here. Okay, so first thing, Lilith is in your sign. So all of these things that are in your personality that are like no risk taking for the next 10 months. If somebody gets under your skin and you want to tell them off and particularly be funny. I'm an Aquarius moon with most of my first house in Sag. Like, I love a Sagittarius humor. So this is not me criticizing, but if someone, there's nothing more that Sag loves when somebody is being stupid and you can make a joke about it. You don't do that for the next 10 months. You will overshoot your shot. You will say it in a way that's going to come across the wrong way. You maybe get labeled as like mean or bullying. So don't do that. Okay. And I'm not saying you do that. I'm just saying those flamboyant Sagittarian traits. Be very careful. Did you guys hear Nicki Minaj? She's a famous Sagittarius and she said assassin in that. I'm not going to say the clip. That's a Lilith moment. Like saying the awkward thing, that's a Lilith moment. And I don't know if that happened when Lilith entered Sag, but I think it did. Yeah. That's the embodiment. Like, I'm sure she didn't mean anything by it, but like, don't catch yourself slipping. Because Sag is so funny as an Aquarius moon. Like, I love Sagittarians for your sense of humor. And it's your humor that's going to catch you right now. So you just be careful for the next 10 months with that humor. Or just keep it between you and close friends. And especially like biting humor with a little tongue in cheek. Be very careful with stuff like that. Then we have the Fool. And then we have the Ace of Wands. I like Saggies too. I have the most harmonious relationships with Sagittarians. We have the Queen of Pentacles. I just get along with them. Sorry about the picture. Two of Rods. It's tough because it's so fun to be funny. It's so habitual for a Sag to just crack jokes, but I would be careful. I'm going to be careful because it's my first house too, What I said about Kanye, that was a Lilith and Sagittarius. I got very close to saying the wrong thing, and I didn't mean anything by it in a negative sense, but that's Lilith and Sagittarius. So saying the wrong thing or, just putting your foot in your mouth. Three of Cups. Okay, so we have the Four of Wands, the Ace of Wands, the Two of Wands, and the Nine of Rods. And then we have the Fool. I'm just thinking about how I'm not going to be doing lives right now because Lilith is in Sag, and I don't think I can, I don't think it's safe. I think I need to edit myself down. Self-realization here for Sag. Yeah. Edit yourself down. Queen of Pentacles. Okay. And then we have the three. Very nice cards. You get something new is beginning. This could be a new home-related thing, a new job, an adventure. Like you're excited about something. Very, very nice. The Fool, which is Uranus, and it's an aspect to Pluto, and the Ace of Rods. New beginning. You're building a foundation towards something very good, and you're in a phase in which there's a lot of abundance around you to build you up. There's people, there's support, there's resources. It's a very good starting point. Some of you are beginning to live in a new home that's going to be your home for a long time here. You've already started there. There's like a groundedness to the situation. There's also travel for some Sagittarians, even though these transits are happening in the lower part of your chart. This is really suggesting travel. And I mean beyond, like, I feel faraway travel, even though only Jupiter will enter Leo later this year or next year, 2026. That's a marker of travel, but I think it's coming for you sooner than that. Vision of stability, moving towards abundance. This is very nice reading. There's a Virgo, Taurus, Capricorn woman that's waiting for you, or it could be a man and it could be any sign, but there's someone who's waiting for you. There's like bringing a bridge between you and someone else. This could be romantic, but I feel like for her, I feel like the maternal energy, like maybe being closer to your mother or someone who is very stabilizing force in your life. I think you're entering into a very stable phase, and I think things are moving towards like really good things. The other thing about my little message about Sagittarian humor, I really got the download, like, quiet is good. In other words, the way to counteract that energy is to, like, not spend time in solitude, but just spend more time within yourself, like not speaking. Like the counteract to that is to serenity. Don't put yourself in those jovial, funny situations. You'll feel very empowered by being serene and being at peace and staying with peace and quietude. Like, so putting your safe situations are like peaceful spiritual situations for the next 10 months. And that's where you will thrive. I don't think you're going to be overly like giddyish. Oh, and I think that if you see yourself getting giddyish, it could be actually a sign that you're in the wrong environment. Because for Sagittarians and Aquarians, humor is a weapon, right? It's like a defense strategy. And so, especially now, this could be actually your signal. Like if you see yourself cracking jokes, then I think that could be a sign like, oh, pull it back, serenity and peace, because you're going in a really good path. So don't be so worried about this jokes comment. It's just a neat observation that emerged in the reading. But I think that like serenity, peace, seeing something through, you're having a spiritual beginning here, Sag. There's peace with people around you, like you're around very stabilizing people. This is very good. Yeah, go with that. There's a lot of growth attached to it too. Okay, like material growth, success, all those things, like build up from that position. Okay, last but not least is Aquarius. Whenever I get stuck with these dark readings, Aquarius comes in like last when it's the darkest. It's super interesting. I've had that catch. This has happened several times. And today's not that bad because, well, it's not dark yet, but. Okay, so I'm going to set the chart. Okay, Aquarius, Sun, Moon, and Rising. Let's take a look. So we have the Queen of Wands, Sag, Leo, or Aries. And the Three of Pentacles. I'm an Aquarius moon. And then we have the Devil. And then we have the Nine of Rods. And then we have the Queen of Cups. And then we have the Eight of Wands. Okay. On the bottom is look at this, Aquarius, the Nine of Cups. That's Jupiter in Pisces. It's the wish card, so you get your wish. This is the only time this card has come up today, so it's like the last card of the day. Maybe a wish for everyone. Do you remember, like, what did I say? Like, comment, or subscribe to make the energy real or whatever. I used to say that so much. So yeah, make a wish and tap in and make the energy real. I think if you have Aquarian placements or not, this is a nice omen. It makes me happy, especially after like this is our warm-up reading. So I don't know. It's just a good omen. So we have the Queen of Wands, the Three of Pentacles, and the Devil card. Aquarius, there's someone at work who's putting negative pressure on you, and they are a negative person. So the Queen of Wands. There's like a bully at your workplace, or there's some other like negative presence, and you're going to work through it just fine. But there is this kind of pushing down energy from someone. Sorry about that. There's a pushing down energy on you by someone else. I think that, frankly, through gossip and talking informally with other people, you're going to get through the situation. Don't smear this person, because that's usually going to amplify the situation. But I feel like a close confidant who knows what's going on for you, with whom you share what's happening, is going to be your ticket out of this dynamic. So if you have someone, let's say if this is this is like a evil coworker type situation. Like imagine working in an office and like one of the administrators is just a witch and she's terrible. And she's just always making your life harder. You're navigating rough terrain here. You tell a friend who's sympathetic, kind, not a decision maker like a boss. You're not trying to get this person fired. I think this person has a lot of seniority, so you need to be careful with that. But you tell someone, you know, hey, this is happening. You have a heart-to-heart. Or if you don't feel safe doing this at work, which is actually smart because those kinds of conversations can bite you, you know, later. But there's someone who hears you out, compassionate listener. It's not necessarily a woman, but here we have the Queen of Cups. And then we have the Eight of Rods. And she kind of helps you navigate out. You're definitely navigating away from this. Let's look at the chart a little bit to see a bit more. So we have the solstice. Yeah, so there's a 12th house is a power from an external force you can't really touch. So this is like a mean boss you can't get fired. This is like a coworker who's like also the daughter of the owner, something like the untouchable person. There's something going on right now with regard to that. But as we head towards the equinox and the conjunction of Saturn and Neptune in February, there's like a pulling force that pulls you away from this. You're not going to be exposed in that situation as much. This is not inferring you have to quit your job or that you have to move on. That situation is going to be pulling you away, and you're going to move to something really good is on the horizon. Sometimes when we find ourselves vis-a-vis like a person like this, it's actually a sign that on the other side there's something really good. And I think that the next chapter there's something that's really fulfilling, and I do think that it's something that's not connected to this interaction. But it doesn't have to mean that you're leaving your job or you're nothing like that. It's just the emphasis is going to shift towards something different, fulfilling, and exciting later. So people pick up on that. When you have something great that you're about to experience, people like see that in you, okay? And then they try to stand in, they don't even know what it is, but they feel it, and they try to stand in line of it. That's what I think is happening. So thank you guys very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Happy holidays. I'll be back with more readings soon. I'm excited to be back, and I hope you liked my tarot card reading. See you later. Bye.